Okay, so I hope the volume is okay. It seems to be something on the mend, so hopefully it will just roll. There was a lot of subjects I wanted to discuss, and I actually uploaded some videos, then deleted them because they were just too long. One of my resolutions, in a sense, I was going to say for the new year, I'll say for the Chinese New Year, as that has been closer, is to try and make my videos a bit more condensed and shorter. I'll try my best, but I cannot promise that. So there's a lot of things I want to discuss, but Milo Yiannopoulos has resigned from Breitbart. There's been riots in Stockholm. I was going to report. I was going to not report. I was going to discuss an issue in Nanchong City in Sichuan province about a woman who had been publicly humiliated. There was all sorts of things I wanted to talk about, but I'll stick with this one because this is something I was thinking about a while back. I'd been looking at old videos of my thoughts on Gordon Ramsay, the TV chef, and not only do I stand by everything I said in those older videos, but I would absolutely reiterate what I've said. And the good news is it looks like some people are starting to, um, like, my viewpoint is starting to get more into the mainstream now. People are starting to see through this guy, um, or at least be turned off him, if I could put it that way. So if you don't know, Gordon Ramsay is a very famous chef. He's possibly the most famous chef in the world at the moment. Um, he is unquestionably successful in terms of making a lot of money out of his trade, in terms of opening up award-winning restaurants. So he's successful by definition. But the problem I have with a lot of the excuses that are made for Gordon Ramsay and his infamous style is the pretext that being successful always justifies the means. So just because he is successful, oh well, anything goes. There are many people who do questionable things with questionable methods that are technically successful in the sense that they've made money out of it. So I just think that argument falls flat. Um, I want to break this down a little bit. So firstly, Gordon Ramsay is well known for his very aggressive style, right? He always yells in people's faces. He is well known for his profanities. Now, whether that's because he's from Glasgow and it's sort of a Scottish thing, people do tend to swear perhaps more than average in that part of the world. I don't know, but he's well known for his very aggressive style, and it's even been made into a form of entertainment in itself. He capitalizes on it, much like Jeremy Kyle capitalizes on his confrontational, sensationalistic style. This has been turned into his kind of celebrity in itself. So I think people don't even watch his shows for the food, to get tips on how to cook something. They watch his shows to see him yell at someone. Does anyone really watch Gordon Ramsay to see his tips on, I don't know, how to make a whatever? I don't know a thing about cooking, so I should be upfront about that. But that's so obvious. Um, so he will not only criticize people, he will really run people down. He will say things, and I've seen this. I think it was on his Hell's Kitchen program. Oh, well, young man, when I was your age, I was doing this with my life. What are you doing? You're worthless. And he runs people down, and he gets so personal and gets into such ad hominem attacks on people that this is not constructive criticism. It's just not. Um, and this is one of the main excuses his fans use. Oh, he tells it like it is. Well, they don't even say that it's constructive criticism because they know that it's not. He tells people what they need to hear. Um, he just believes in discipline. That's not discipline. A disciplined person would have self control. Now Ramsey has no self control. And the thing is, I get it. I've worked in restaurants as a waiter 3 times. I've got experience of that world, and I fully appreciate that a head chef is under a lot of pressure. I get that. But here's my contention: there are a lot of successful chefs, possibly not quite on his level, but still pretty successful in their own right, who do not use that style. So this argument that oh he has to do it to be successful is bullshit. It's a flawed argument from the outset, and I think it's an excuse because people really just get a little bit of they find it fun to watch other people yelled at. It's trash TV as far as I'm concerned, right up there with Jeremy Kyle and another sensationalist nonsense. That's what it is. And people say another argument is, oh well, he's a nice guy in real life. I'm aware that he's done things for charity. I'm aware that he probably has a more calm demeanor outside of his TV show. I don't actually think that is an act. I think that's in his personality. I think this guy is very volatile, and I think if the cameras weren't there, I wouldn't put it past him lashing out at someone. Um, I see nothing appealing about that. All I see is an angry little man with no self control. Um, this is not something to be admired. This is not something to be copied. It's nonsense. Um, so people say, "Oh well, participants know what they're getting into." That might be true, but for me, it's not so much about that. It's about the message that he is sending out, and that his apologists are sending out that to be successful, you have to behave this way. No, you don't. There are many successful people who do not use this approach. Um, so I really get irritated with the excuses that are made for him. You can criticize someone, if you're in a leadership position and someone's doing something wrong, I get that you sometimes need to be tough. I totally appreciate that. So you need to be tough, you need to tell them where they're going wrong. But you could do that in a way that is not yelling in their face, that is not belittling them, telling them that they're worthless. That's what this guy does. That to me is not being a leader. That to me is being a control freak and a bully. That's what this guy is. I've no respect for him. And quite frankly, and I mean this hand on heart sincerely, I would sooner drink piss, my own piss, than eat in this guy's restaurant. I mean that. And if I ever become famous and this video is made public, and I'm put up to it, they say drink your own piss or eat in one of his restaurants, I would do it. That's how strongly I feel about this. Because it's not just about Ramsay, it's about this general kind of idea that being an asshole is is the right approach to success. And it isn't just Gordon Ramsay. You see it on Britain's Got Talent, The X Factor, where there's this mean spirited thing where humiliating people and running people down is seen as a good thing. I don't believe people should be wrapped in cotton wool if they're doing something wrong. Certainly, tell them where they're going wrong. And sometimes people are deluded by their own mistakes. So I've no problem. If Gordon Ramsay was saying, "Look, what you're doing is wrong. I'm I'm a world-renowned chef. You should listen to my advice." But what he does is calls them losers. Yells in their face, and it's in a whole entertainment industry made out of this, like Hell's Kitchen, and I just don't get it. I don't get the appeal at all. Um, or maybe I do get the appeal, but I don't accept it. I don't accept this as I get the appeal because people are like that. People like sensationalism. They don't watch a show for the cooking. They watch it because they want to see someone get yelled at. Same with Jeremy Kyle. People who watch a Jeremy Kyle show don't really care about the social issues that are being raised. All they want to see is Saint Jezza, um, exploit troubled people. People who either should be in a court of law or given professional help. As far as I'm concerned, people like Jeremy Kyle, Gordon Ramsay, and there's a few others I can think of, in my opinion, they're scum. And if people say, "Oh, but you don't know the guy," blah blah, I take the view: if you're a public figure, you're entirely responsible for the image that you put out. So even if it is all one big act, and Gordon Ramsay's a really nice guy, when you get to know him, the image that he has put out is the image that he has put out. So I defy anyone to say that I am wrong. I defy people to say that being an asshole is the only way that you could be successful. If this is a Machiavellian thing, if people say, well, you can't be super nice, and it's, you know, Machiavelli, Machiavellian philosophy was never about being a horrible person. It was never about being an asshole. It was never about being dark and cruel just for the sake of it. The caveat was always to the point necessary. Now Gordon Ramsay goes well beyond that. He can encourage people. He can be tough with people even without using that approach. So the excuses are bullshit. And yes, he's been successful. I'm not even disputing that. But I just question why he is celebrated, why he's held up as a role model. He's not a role model. He's an asshole. A role model to me is someone who inspires other people, is someone who really helps other people. And okay, there may be some chefs that have got through his program, and there's trainees or whatever. I'm not sure exactly how it works, but nothing will convince me that his approach is okay. I don't think it is. And final point, this is not about being overly sensitive, okay? If I was being overly sensitive, I would say people should be wrapped in cotton wool and never face criticism. I'm not saying people shouldn't be criticized. I'm not saying if someone's making mistakes, then he, as the head chef, as a world-renowned chef, shouldn't put them right. But it's the way he is doing it, and that is, you know, I'm just tired of the excuses for him, basically. And I don't see him. I have no respect for him. Put it that way. And this is a guy who thinks it's money and his fame. I think he's an egomaniac. I think he believes, he has zero humility. That's how I feel about it. And if you disagree, fine. But all I would ask is that you consider the points that I've made.